Annihilation eternal night. Heroes from across worlds stand and unite. No other foe or force can match their might. The once great people of this world now hide in fear. All chaos shaken by the power of sword and spear. The black-clad armies of the Dark One now draw near. But in the distance, the sergeant and the bear appear. Great heroes of past the law, no power has seen before. We step far across the sky, marching across the great divide to save the world from deterioration, to end the age of annihilation. Great heroes of past the law, no power has seen before. We spread far across the sky, marching across the great divide to save the world from deterioration, to end the age of annihilation. Legions of Romans stand and let their arrows fly. The roaring of dragons and machines pierce the sky. Secret agents and the generals they defy. Swarms of orcs and samurai raise their banners high. In the wake of death, only one man stands alone. The sergeant raises his sword, high silver shown. He condemns the chaos worn on his soul. He stands longing for the day he may return home. Great heroes of past and law, no power has seen before. We spread far across the sky, marching across the great divide to save the world from deterioration, to end the age of annihilation. Until the war for the world's brains is won, they will fight until there are none. But a hero will stand alone as one, and the bloodshed is finally done. Great heroes of past the law, no power has seen before. We spread far across the sky, marching across the great divide to save the world from deterioration, to end the age of annihilation. Great heroes of past the law, no power has seen before. We spread far across the sky, marching across the great divide to save the world from deterioration, to end the age of annihilation, 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 to end the age of annihilation.
All right, welcome to TOV Live. It is Valhalla time, and yes, we have Hello Retro Gamer 412 on Twitch. How you doing? All right, well, we had a little bit of a wait, but we're back on to reading the Tome of Annihilation and the lore book reading tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see if we let some of the audience funnel in, but we do have Retro Gamer 412 there in the chat. The winner of the Valkyrie trial in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And tonight I have with me, guys, we have a very special guest for the first time on the stream. Like I said, I said this before the last few weeks. Someone who's showing up, never been on a stream before, that has worked on the book. And so tonight we have William with us, aka Dandelions, aka coordinator for Renegade, for Heroscape. Welcome, 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 William, to the stream. Tell everybody, who are you? What do you do?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm a longtime Tales of Valhalla appreciator. As a Heroscape lore fan, I love seeing other people take an interest in Heroscape lore and dedicate so much energy to it. It's awesome. My name is William. Some of you might know me as Dandelions. I've been lurking in the Heroscape community for a couple of years now, really since the HasLab was announced for the Vanguard edition of Age of Annihilation. I've bounced around a lot since then. I was in a customs project called NGC for a brief time until the actual revival was announced. And once Heroscape was determined that it would come back, I've just slowly gone from a enthusiast to getting more and more involved with Renegade Game Studios. And so at this point, I write about a third of the monthly scenarios. I write lore bios. I've written a good chunk for the Tome of Annihilation. And I've recently stepped into a position as a Heroscape community coordinator, which basically means working on organized play and trying to smooth out any wrinkles where that's concerned so that people can start and run local Heroscape scenes. So that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing, incredible. It's great to have, a longtime listener, first time caller here and with me, speaking with me tonight. That's awesome. I'm happy for any support that I've done for like the past 10 plus years. It's great to have you on with us, William, tonight. And yeah, I've been looking forward to this too, and I'm so glad I reached out to you. It's been a long time coming. It's like there's so many people that it's like you try and reach out to, and you never know who's going to stick. So I'm glad that you're able to join us tonight, and hopefully for other times in the future as well. So yeah, guys, we have the Tome of Annihilation. So this is part 3, and we're going to be going through the planets. So I gotta hop to page 32. Page 32. As I scroll down, I'll scroll down faster. No, that's page 35. 33, 32, and we're going to start with Earth here. And when it comes to now, before we get started though, I want to give William just a little chance to get on the platform and discuss a little bit about the bookmaking process with this, because one thing I like, and William, I think I especially like the horror elements to some of these scenarios and character bios, and I believe you've had a hand in some of those, correct?
Yes, I'm definitely behind the scenes a big horror fan. So I'm always thrilled to put a tiny bit of that influence in here.
I feel like some of that's some of the best written stuff out of the whole process. So just tell us a little bit about that process, especially when it comes to this book. The floor is yours for a few minutes if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, really, the Tome of Annihilation came about a lot faster, I think, than people would expect. It was kind of this thing of like, okay, if we want a book to come out for the end of Age of Annihilation, and that important window once Age of Annihilation is done, but before Secrets of the Citadel has begun releasing, then it would mean like an extremely compressed timeline, because it just takes so long to take everything through approvals and getting it edited and building it out graphic design wise. And, then actually the logistics of making a book in print and getting that available for people. So when it was decided that we needed a Tome of Annihilation, probably a good 3 weeks of my life was just mocking up the outline for what this book would contain, kind of finding the layout and doing kind of a very basic like graphic mock-up of what the book would be, figuring out what new art we needed, because there's a lot of art in this book that never existed in Heroscape before, and this book was a great excuse to create that art and make it available for the first time. And so with that in mind, like really this first chunk of 50 pages of the book is just a primer on Heroscape's Valkyrie, Heroscape's planets, and kind of the conflicts that has led us into Heroscape's story. And especially trying to both offer a really straightforward explanation for someone who has never heard of any of this. Because if you're a like modern day gamer getting into Heroscape, there's so much lore that is so difficult to find in one place. You really have to just like soak yourself in it and then learn stuff by exposure. Um, so trying to make it a good beginner's resource, but then also offer a lot of new perspectives and explanations and theories and sort of tidbits that we haven't gotten a chance to explore yet. And trying to make sure that for the like diehards of the lore, that there's stuff in this book that also will sort of like almost be for their eyes only. Well, they'll recognize something that most people won't. So yeah, it was really fun to create. There was a long list of like things that were weirdly canon or questionably canon. Everything from material from the like canceled or the unused webisode script from like the Heroscape mini movie,
Right.
to like website lore tidbits such as like the Tombs of Willenshire, where Jandar uses the katana of Thorian, which was like a website tidbit, and the website's gone now. So like it was fun to take a lot of Easter eggs that I have collected and enjoyed and then just post them in a place where it can be confirmed that those things are canon or that this is how those things fit into the canon and so forth. So yeah, it's definitely a passion project from a Heroscape lore lover, and the team just put so much work into the like graphic design and laying all of this out. And yeah, I'm really thrilled with how it's come together.
Yeah, it's really recrafting the world through storytelling, which I think if there was one flaw to Heroscape when it first came out in 2004 until 2010 was that the story was very mixed up. It was a mixed bag of sorts. I mean, there were some parts that were really, really cool. And there were some storylines that just were like, okay, what's going on here? And yeah, and I feel like reading this book, like even like say the first like the introduction and the first like 10 pages, 10 15 pages, I'm like that's worth the $45 right there. It's like you don't need to do anymore. You just do that and it's like there you go. It's like money well spent just for that. Just the way it was written, it gives it when obviously, I might have dabbled into Heroscape lore in the past, possibly, and me reading this, when you get excited over something you already kind of generally know, but you're reading this and it's being told in a different way, in a way that really engages the audience, the reader. It's a well done piece of work when you know you've accomplished that, and when you know someone's realizing and reading it for that. So just that alone, I feel like there's the value for it right there. So you can tell right away that whoever's doing this loves doing that. And when you say when it comes to the team and making this process, because I think it was done relatively quickly. I think within like a year. Was there any like hiccups like along the way, or was it generally a smooth process?
I would say that the biggest hiccups mostly lie in just the like sheer graphic design load of this book.
Sure.
Because like every single page, you know, isn't just like text on a white background. Like it has to be laid out. All of the character bio pages like need these columns of text and then also a picture of their hero and then also art of that hero. and every page is different as well. So it was a long process from like my initial mock-ups to the actual graphic design department sort of working through it. And it's, I think, almost a bigger, there are definitely like RPG books that Renegade has done, but by and large those are fairly standardized in terms of like, you know, once you get many pages in an RPG book will be kind of text and then okay, a couple images. So yeah, I think the biggest hurdles were just like constant editing and proofreading and trying to make sure that the layout was coming along well. In the end, I think there were one or two still like errors within the book, but overall, like we managed to catch a lot over those weeks and weeks of sort of scoping it out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say the documents making itself was probably the hardest part. Yeah, that and just trying to like get the writing done in a fast enough time frame that it could like be edited and go on to the rest of the process.
So you did it fairly quickly, but at the same time you did your due diligence in order to make sure that it was as complete as possible, in spite of like all the big workload. And I just want to shout out,
If I could add,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, if I could add one more, I also did a small portion of the art for this book. So like trying to learn how to like do planet illustrations was a whole new thing. So I definitely had to pick up some new tools to try and just figure out how to illustrate these in a way that, you know, hopefully mildly would hold up with the rest of the art in the book.
Nice. Well, it's really cool, and I hope sometime soon we can discuss this process further. Right now, let's get into the planets. But first, before doing that, I do want to shout out those in the chat. We got Warpigment in the Twitch and the YouTube chat. Warpig is the fellow wrench, the one who keeps the chat running, kicking away the bugs and the bots when they come out, and doing his best to promote. And we have Billy Rager in the chat as well on YouTube, as well as Meloman, and we got Derek here in the chat as well. Nice. So welcome everybody. Yes, we have dandelions with us tonight, guys. We got dandelions with us, so we're gonna make great use of his time tonight. I'm so excited. Warpig, if you could do me one solid real quick though, can you share? I didn't have time to do this, but if you could share the YouTube stream link, say via to Renegade Discord, just to say Dandelions on stream live on TOV right now. Maybe bring a few more people in on the stream who might be interested in hearing what Dandelions has to say. If you could do that, Warpig, that would be awesome. Share that out. Do it. I don't typically do that, but I might as well just promote it a little bit tonight, because we'll be here for a little bit of time. So with that, again, hello to everybody in the chat. Share the stream. Yeah, just hit if you have the stream link. Or here. Okay, hold on a second. We can here. I can do this. I can do this for you real quick, Warpig. Hold on. Un momento, por favor, because I have a share button. Usually I don't share. I'm a very selfish person, but I'll share tonight. I'll share tonight. Here, hold on. Let me. Okay, Warpig, I'm putting it in your Discord chat, and all right. And he says, okay, sweet. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to switch back here and find the right button. All right, and focus on Earth. Okay, so let's read through this first. Earth, a brave blue world. I like that. We'll read through this whole thing, then we'll talk about it. But it just that's one thing that stood out to me, was that it's true. It's like no matter how far you go in outer space, it's like this typically looks like a little shade of blue, because we're majority water here. So It's a nice spot there for that. All right. Earth is the third planet from its sun in its own solar system. It is one of the youngest planets known to the Valkyrie, with the human history of its primary inhabitants, a species called humans, only spanning around 5,000 years. Humans have been summoned to Valhalla from a variety of periods and places in their history, ranging from the earliest days of civilization through eras of upheaval and war, all the way to the technology advanced period of spies, stealth, cloaks, and underwater cities of the year 2210 AD. A theme common to Earth's humans is their tenacity, bravery, and intrepidness. Humans have become some of the most important soldiers in Valhalla's armies, being unafraid to make moves deep into enemy lines or risk everything for their friends and allies. A watery world. Over 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water, and it has 7 continents. Most of Earth's oceans remain unexplored throughout its history and hold secrets of their own, such as why an earthen pirate ship might vanish from the region of ocean called the Bermuda Triangle and fall into the abyssal depths of the void. The 23rd century. Unfortunately, humanity was never able to set aside their aptitude for war. By the year 2210, much of the world above has been destroyed by environmental catastrophes and the unchecked rise of human industry, and the safest environments become sealed underwater cities where much of humanity's population dwelled while war raged on in the world above. However, humanity's reach also expanded beyond Earth, leading to the formation of a lunar colony on its moon, as well as several settlements on the neighboring red planets of Mars, which means that Elon Musk succeeded, apparently. A grim mystery. Earth is full of surprises, even those who were summoned from there. The grave grims that Revna has called into her armies were spirits regarded in Earth folklore for centuries. But where did they really come from? And then we got... see an excerpt from Drake Alexander here. What do I miss about Earth? Simple things mostly. Warm summer days in a place called Rhode Island. Walking along the pier with my dad. Watching white ships with waving flags pass on the water. Smoke rising from the factory chimneys. Rows of Christmas trees out in the street ahead of the holidays. An old hound dog we used to have. But mostly I miss the people. The folks in my hometown. They were fearless, working to make better lives for each other. Free to be whatever they wanted. My fathers before me were fighters, and I guess I am as well. I gave everything I had to protect that freedom on Earth. I'll defend it on Valhalla too. And then we have a direct transmission from Agent Carr. What do I miss about Earth? I don't miss the dark. Up until Valhalla, I had never seen sunlight with my own eyes. Closest I ever got were the simulations. When the seas rose up, New York got sealed in a bubble 50 fathoms down. But even if I went up to the surface, all I'd have been able to see was poisonous smog before I got gunned down by an MOD. Nah. It was better down there. Not that it was much safer. The Twilight Clan weren't going to stop until they ran the city, and we got off on a bad foot. But hey, even if you have to fight for your life every day, and the people that came before you screwed every redacted chance you had of fixing your planet, home is home. So, now, there's a few things that come to my mind. The cool thing is that, like the very beginning, the 5,000 year mark. Now, I mean, my personal beliefs is that I'm a young Earth creationist, so for me that's kind of on the mark. But if you're thinking of like historical when it comes to languages, languages start about 5,000 years ago, roughly. That's as far as we can see it going back from that perspective. So it's kind of interesting that particular spark is in there. when it comes to Earth. So that I don't know if that was meant for any reason, but that is an actual factual statement. As far as the 5,000 year mark goes, that's as much as writing has gone. So any
that's
comment
when
on
we
that?
get our cuneiform tablets. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. What else can I say? It's cool that now I don't know who wrote this, but it's kind of cool that you actually get and I'm probably dating myself here, but you're getting a Waterworld / Matrix vibe from this. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Heroscape, like, historically has this weird Easter egg relationship with Risk 2210 AD. Where, like, certain, like, Microcorp, for instance, where we get the Microcorp agents in Heroscape, is the city in Risk 2210, and then the year 2210 AD is also where Agent Carr and his buddies are summoned from. And thus, also where it places Isamu and the Twilight Clan. So it's continuing that, I guess, that relationship a little bit without necessarily saying, like, you can find the world of Heroscape in the future and Risk 2210 AD, but, like, definitely want to preserve that relationship, I guess, and there's a couple more nods to that world setting within here. Including, like, that there are colonies in Risk on Mars and the Moon. So, there's, I guess, some potential where the future period of Earth is concerned. But also wanted to address a couple of the weird areas in Earth, because, like, the Grave Grim being from Earth came as a curveball to many people. And similarly, like, there's someone, as it mentions with the Bermuda Triangle, like, the Thea Bonnie has a very mystifying character bio originally. So slowly we're beginning to, like, unpack more and more of that.
Yeah, no, and that's cool. And this also, like, there's, like, little hints here. Like, yes, Gravegrim, I already knew through Jeremy that Gravegrim was associated with Earth. Like, more like, Earth lore, which is great. And I like it still. There's a little air of mystery. Like, okay, we know he's associated with Earth lore, but where did they really come from? So that leaves that particular, like, tiny story arc open for more exploration, which is great. I mean, the one thing that makes I'm just going to refer to what makes the original Star Wars trilogy great is that you have a hero's journey with Luke Skywalker, and I'd say in a lot of ways like Han Solo too. And I think one way to further the story and make the story a lot more engaging is to have heroes or heroines journeys peppered throughout the story. You don't need to have centralized focused on one character. You could do multiple characters throughout different timelines, or different periods of time throughout this process. So it's kind of cool to see that even the Graham Grim gets just a little bit of an arc nudge right there to figure out, okay, there's more to explore with this particular character or characters. Now, if you're quiet, that's fine. I'm not going to pursue things further. But when I see like Moon Colony and Mars Colony, I'm just thinking, okay, where are spacemen squads then? It's like, I'm ready. I'm ready for Mars attacks. In any part of the way, we could have Martian units. We could have humans who aren't Martians but are humans from Mars, technically Martian units, moon base units. There's so much to explore when it comes to this particular story, and I'm sorry, I gotta like link to the chat. Apparently, Warpig like dropped the link, which thank you, Warpig. I think on 8 different Discords. So, okay. Thank you. As long as you let them know that Dandelions is on, that is fine. Because I think Derek is like hinting to Warpig. Yeah, it's like you can edit those those submissions. But I appreciate you, Warpig, so much. Oh, that's funny. What else? What else came to my mind? The characters like Drake, pretty fun. And actually, this is one critique I actually do have. Okay. I think like Drake is kind of like been on the back burner like this whole time. He needs a little bit more of a story arc going for him in the future. Whether it's good for evil, he needs some type of thing to start growing his character, because he's pretty much shrouded in mystery, and this doesn't help. I mean, it's cool to see where he's coming from and what he misses. But we need something from him sometime soon as far as a central story.
The man has basically been absent for most of Age of Annihilation. Like, he gets a like sort of moment where he like convinces Adelburn to keep fighting for life, and then he shows up for the big group shot when Raylan and Leviathan make their move, and after that he is just gone again. Like, the man is so important throughout so much of Heroscape, and he has basically just not been in the spotlight for Age of Annihilation. So I would definitely love more attention for him going forward, especially since we haven't, beyond him being a little bit more weathered and a little bit more disgruntled, like, we haven't gotten inside of his head a lot, and a lot can change in like the 10 years between Rise of the Valkyrie and Age of Annihilation. So yeah, I'm with you there. I really want more for our American boy.
Agreed. And I think the biggest thing he did actually throughout all of Age of Annihilation was forgive Raylan. That's it. That's what he did. He's like okay. He's like, I won't kill you for being a bad guy for like a few months. It's like, okay, like Toothpick says, friendship. That's and as Lieutenant Dan would say in my series, or Daniel Taylor would say, that's my Sarge. That's what he does. But Agent Carr is interesting. Now this is kind of fleshing out his character a little bit, and as well as his character bio a little bit as well. It actually reminds me of a certain character from actually not even from the Matrix. It doesn't remind me of Lawrence Fishburne. It reminds me of who is it? Snakes on a Plane.
Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson. That's the vibe I'm getting. But if Samuel Jackson was actually Morpheus in the Matrix, just doing his own thing. Yeah, okay, yeah, everybody's saying Samuel Jackson. Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I'm getting, which isn't a bad thing. You know what? Chocolate. I miss chocolate. Give me chocolate now. Yeah. No, that's great with him. And yeah, the whole thing it reminds me a lot. There's a lot of Matrix vibes within his transmission, but not quite. It also reminds me again a little bit. If anybody has never seen Waterworld, I recommend maybe seeing it so you can kind of understand this. But that's also what it kind of reminds me of. It's a little bit of a mix, although. Looks like so guys, like 100 some years into the future, we doom ourselves by trying to destroy the machines, and it doesn't work. But apparently, we get to other planets, so that's I guess there's cost ratio. We can't use AI anymore, or maybe it's quantum computing in the future. But apparently, it's all turned against us. Actually, what'd be kind of cool. Is we end up with some type of Terminator type. Oh, we already got Deathwalkers, I know, but Deathwalkers don't come from Earth; they come from Alpha Prime. So we need like a Terminator type machine that's like that sides with the what's it called here, the Twilight Clan. I almost want to say the Foot Clan. See, now I'm going into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
But
So that's a different crew of futuristic ninjas that live in
you
a
know,
large cityscape.
you're
Yeah.
not wrong. You're not wrong. When it comes to TM and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I grew up watching those cartoons. It'd be great to have a Craig character. You know, you have like a whole ball just coming ripping through time.
I love Krang. Absolutely.
There is one other thing actually that popped in my head though, is that there is okay, and those in chat, we got C3BMO in the chat saying hello and happy Mother's Day. Absolutely, happy Mother's Day. It is Mother's Day, and just like me to stream this on a holiday, but that's me. So bring your mom in on the show too, in the chat, and we'll say happy Mother's Day all night long. But no, how the void is mentioned in this. So there's a connection to the void on Earth here. And I have a feeling, apparently, and I know Daniel is probably going to keep silent on this, but I have a feeling like the void, and this is a no-brainer, I'm sure everybody probably figured out, the void, when it comes to Earth, I'm sure it's connected to more planets than just Earth and Valhalla. And we're probably going to see a bit more information on the void and how it's connected to everything. I get that feeling. It's just another sandbox to play with, and that's fun. Do you feel, William? Do you feel that, like, because this was my biggest fear when it comes to, and we'll move on to another planet in a minute, but this is my biggest fear, and it started kind of that way when the scenarios first came out, that the messaging was going to be too like clunky and restricting, that it wasn't going to expand on anything. You have a huge sandbox to really make things work and gel well, but my opinion has changed over the course of time because things are getting a little bit better written. We're starting to expand on things. So I think, like, you're not just exploring the sandbox. I believe you're expanding it. Do you think that's a good assumption?
I think that's probably fair, and part of that is just as any like massive collaborative story like continues, you'll continually, I guess, do one of two things. Like either you'll find new territory to push the story into, or you'll go back to old territory that like someone cracked the door open a little bit on, and then you can really explore that and make it something bigger. I think an example of that is also like back in the Dungeons and Dragons era, you had weirdly an Underdark established on Valhalla that just no one had mentioned before. And then they kind of like, I don't want to say forgot about it, but by the time that like it was just such a weird artifact of the story, and you had people having these massive years-long debates about whether Dungeons and Dragons counted as canon or not. And so, in the modern story, that's been something that we could go back to and kind of take it, but then flesh it out more and build it into like something that's a little bit more substantial, and say like, okay, yes, there is this underground structure on Valhalla. There's all of this lore and myth and history to it. And, to those couple D&D characters, they might call it an Underdark. But there's a lot more that we can explore here by building onto that rather than, like, ignoring that it ever happens, which also is a possibility. So, yeah,
I'm glad you didn't ignore it, though. I'm glad you're addressing, like, a lot of things that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I wasn't sure for a while. There was during the HasLab, it was mentioned that in Carmine, who was writing the lore for the Vanguard edition, which was later sort of like retconned, I guess. Or not retconned, but I guess just like not followed through because the Vanguard edition didn't happen. But like part of the lore for that would have been retconning the D&D section, basically. So there was a while where like for all the Heroscape wiki pages, they just had to say like, this section could be canon, but we'll see. Yeah, another thing though was, like you mentioned, the void, and there were a number of like as time went on after that initial master set came out, It became clear that like the content that had been written for that left some big unanswered questions in certain areas, but especially in Fiabani's bio, which is like 2 sentences long. I think it's 1 sentence long. And it says, behind her mask, Fiabani wonders when the Valkyrie will realize that they are not the only ones who can reach between worlds. And it's like, that's such a big, like, hook and question.
It is.
And then there was absolutely no follow-up and no explanation from her card, really, either, on what that means. So between this entry on Earth and then also the Kraken's bio, it was a chance to go back and be a little bit more like, okay, obviously this is the thing, but let's revisit that sentence and let's flesh out a little bit more what that actually means. So yeah, I definitely like, I'm happy for any opportunity when it comes to take a small nod in past Heroscape lore and flesh it out and embrace it. And that is a ton of Heroscape lore, because there's so many weird little nods and factoids that you later like could go back and then actually just focus a little more on and get something interesting out of.
Yeah. No, it's a process, but I'm glad it is being fleshed out, because and we've been saying this for a while. We need a lore book to establish, what is, what was, and what's potentially going to be happening in the future. And now that we have it, and with the possibility of having another one when it comes to Secrets of the Citadel too, that is incredible. Because I've said this multiple times, and we'll move on to the next planet. But I've said this multiple times in the past. I got to meet Scott Gata when I was in Gen Con a couple of years ago, and I had an opportunity to ask him one question, and the question was, what's your BHAG? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal for Heroscape in, like, say 5-10 years? And he basically said, I want to make it like Warhammer 40K. I'm like, all right, that's aiming for the eagle. Bag the pheasant, don't eat the crow. Yep, I can. Yep. I can see that being a vision. So now, are we there yet? I don't think so. We're not there yet, but the work is starting to be put in for that to be a possibility. So it's what I was telling Joe like a few weeks ago. The best thing to happen is that everybody starts getting into Heroscape. The worst thing that can happen is that everybody starts getting into Heroscape. So it's going to be interesting to see this and I mean, you have say fact checkers. You got guardians. You got like guys like me with our social media. That, I mean, we're going to keep an eye on everything along the way. Because not that what we say is the most important thing, but we just want to make sure, to the best of our ability, that things look like they're being done right. Because there could be a way to do this right, and there also could be a way to do this that's just going to make it. And so it's interesting to watch.
Absolutely.
As a potential like outsider for this. Okay, Phaland. Let's say, guys, we're like almost 50 minutes into the stream, and we're just on the second one. We're doing good. All right, Phaland, the world of ancient enchantment. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to ignore the chat too much tonight, guys. But if I don't read everything from y'all, please still comment. I'll try to pick up on whatever anybody's laying down in the chat as much as I can. All right. So Phaland is an old world compared to Earth, with 10,000 years in each of its 12 recorded ages. The elves, who play a central role in Phaland's history, can live up to 3,000 years or more. But they are hardly alone in the world. Phaland is home to thousands of species and dozens of regions in a constant state of flux, as elf, dwarf, wolf, Nice. Vampire. And more vie for control over low generations of conflict. So this is setting things up for the future. I like that. Despite being primarily a forested world, Phelan has a diverse array of biomes, including the lava fields of Wolfen. Yes, we have. Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. Okay, I gotta read through this. Okay, I'll celebrate later. You can tell I haven't read this. I'm like I save myself for this. I don't want to.
Really?
I don't want to sugarcoat this surprise. The deep and cursed swamps of Bogdan and vast and mysterious seas, but as the necrotic wastes of Morandan show, in a world infused with magic, sometimes spells go awry, can lead to a disaster that lasts for thousands of years. The twin moons of harvest. Phelan has 2 moons, which are referred to as the twin moons of harvest. The moons are said to have magical significance and affect the power of Phelan's vicious wolf packs with their waxing and waning. There's more wolf packs. Okay, legends say these moons are home to the Seelie and Unseelie courts of Fae, Phelan's first children, who have not been seen since the First Age. Okay, and Wayland trees. Many elven cities like Ashra are built on the boughs of Wayland trees. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to unwrap here. These massive white bark trees play a significant role on elven life, and each part of them sees use. Their bark is used in crafting the staffs of wizards, as well as blessed banners with miraculous healing properties. All right, let's read through these. Okay, do they really have a Savaris here? Okay. Now, this might hurt my voice and might irritate my family, who's trying to go to bed. But I have to do this because this is Savaris voice, basically. Yep. Okay, I might totally screw this up, but I gotta do my Savaris voice. This is gonna be very, very annoying, but very fun for me, guys. I once would have said that elves were the most beautiful and skilled people in all of Phelan. Now that I have met those from worlds far beyond mine, I would say the elves are the most beautiful and skilled people in the universe. I am a Thokian elf, and in my lifetime I saw the 7th golden age of Phelan. Cities grew mighty under the watch of great artisans, and the enemies of the elves were easily beaten by our prowess. I was a steward of the woods in those days, employing my archery to protect the groves of Wayland trees we were cultivating for the elves of future generations to cherish. Phelan is full of great monsters, yes, and I will use my arrows on every single one of them, but let not that subtract from its beauty. I believe the glory of our forest must rival those even of Arboreus. Savaris of Phelan. All right, there. Having fun with that. Okay, and then when it comes to Sonlan, as Archmage in the 8th Age of Phelan, it was my responsibility to oversee Phelan's magical orders, including the Order of the Crimson Seagull. Here we go. Whose 9 members, there we go, were devoted to the protection of the royal family. My quest to return a young dragon hatchling barely larger than my palm to her mother was interrupted by the news that the order had failed. So that's proof that Sonlan wasn't part of that order. The princess and the order alike were assumed dead, that the wolf lords reigned in the forest, and darker powers behind them. A dismal days followed, which I have rarely written about, and my quest to return the Dragonling was interrupted yet again by my near death and summoning to Valhalla, where I found the Order alive and well. But many of our greatest foes, too, have come to this peaceful world to lend their powers to war. In a way, we're always given the chance to repeat our history. And for those of you who don't know, the Sylvaris voice I did, is not the main canon Sylvaris voice. That is pure Tales of Valhalla canon, because I made Sylvaris is always known as like, and since we're probably going to get into Lord of the Rings anyway right now, because this just it permeates Lord of the Rings. It's a voice that I chose to be, because Sylvaris is kind of like a Legolas. That they kind of make, kind of variations of characters that are in pop culture. And like with Agent Carr, Morpheus, Sylvaris, Legolas. And so since Legolas in Lord of the Rings is so cool and suave and debonair, I know you got to say debonair, but I'm saying debonair. I decided to make him anti that. As annoying as possible. Nobody likes him. I mean, he's still a good archer. He still can do all the kicking butt as as Legolas can do in Lord of the Rings. He's just, nobody likes him. so that's the satire for him. But let's go up to the top here. And wait, let me just look at the chat here real quick. Let's see, Warpig saying Revenant is winning in the Alliance War, Pennsylvania and Southern California. Cool. Let's see. Retro Gamer saying Phelan is Dolores Umbridge with pointy ears. Sorry, Tails, I had to do it. Oh my goodness. Dolores Umbridge. So, okay, there's Harry Potter. We like bringing up all aspects of pop culture. That's great. Anyway. All right. So what I think about this, well, okay, we have a lot of classes here. We got elves. We got dwarfs. We got wolves. And of course, wolves, we already have some wolves, but, part of me is thinking like wolves or wolf-en, which is right there, which reminds me of the Varkanans for VC. If those of you don't know who Valhalla Customs, look it up. It would be so cool if we got some type of offshoot of Wolfen in that way, because the Varkanans on VC and Valhalla Customs are... I got cards for them. I don't have miniatures for them. I got cards for them because they're that cool. Gotta get miniatures from them eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be cool to have some type of offshoots from them for that. And Warpig's doing a test. What's going on, Warpig? He's testing. I think we're okay on the stream. Everything looks solid, so hopefully everything's okay on that end. So that's cool. And we got vampires, coming from that side. It's expand, like we explained before. It's expanding the sandbox. And we have lava fields too, so we can end up with like lava, like wolfen characters that can withstand heat. Okay. I see what you're saying, Warpick. Yeah, no, okay, the chat pops up. Yeah, because it's on my face. Here, I can adjust that. Hold on. There, okay. We're just doing a little bit of house cleaning live on stream. All right. What else was coming to my mind? The Unseelie. Is that how you pronounce it? Unseelie?
Yes.
Okay, now that actually reminds me of Lord of the Rings. It reminds me of, if anybody's read the Silmarillion, which I know maybe not too many people, but if you're a lore buff, you really should read that book at least once. It's a brick, but it's a fun brick. It hurts, but you feel more like Tolkien when you do it. It kind of reminds me of the original creators of Middle Earth when it comes to the Unseelie. Am I getting close to the mark when it comes to these guys for that?
Oh, I was 100% thinking over to the Silmarillion, which, by the way, if you can't cut the dense history manual of a book that the Silmarillion is, there's an audiobook where Andy Serkis reads it, and it's phenomenal. But yeah, the Silmarillion is a great reference because it is a book that talks about the formation of this classical fantasy world of Middle Earth,
Mhm.
but tells you like how people came to be on it and what the early days of these like godlike beings were like as their decisions kind of shaped the world to come. Um, and especially with the idea of like the Valar, I think in
Mhm.
no, not the Valar.
No,
In the Silmarillion,
someone
there's
beyond that.
essentially like the early elves that are put on the world,
Mhm.
and you know they're the predecessors to the modern day elves. And in a similar way, thinking over to Phelan's history, we know that the world operates in these very Middle Earth ages.
Sure.
We know that Savaris is from the seventh age of Phelan's, and then this book pencils in a little bit more detail about that. But yeah, the Seelie and Unseelie courts of the Fae being kind of this, I guess, old by Phelan standards, you know, species that might have lived in that first age, and then you know have not been seen since is kind of yeah, definitely reminds me of the Silmarillion as we
Yeah,
were fleshing out this tidbit of Phelan's history.
for sure. And something just popped in my head. Now it's not listed here, but hobbits are never listed in you know, as you, if you've read the books, you know the hobbits are never listed uh, in the people's lists. If you come up with some type of hobbit creature, you know, that comes part of this world that you know not known, not discovered. Now this is, there's nothing written here for that, so I'm not saying it's gonna happen. But if that were ever to be the case, to where you come up with some, because hobbits, they're marksmen, range fighters, because you never want to mess up with a hobbit and a stone,
Hmm.
because they're gonna be like David and Goliath, just swinging at you and finding their mark. They're good marksmen. So I could see like a squad of slingshot type hobbits, you know, in some type of like mithril coat gear. Um, now again, I don't know what, because you want to make it as far removed as possible from Lord of the
Right.
Rings. But I can see like it brainstorming. I mean, I'm no gamer unit designer, but if I saw something like that sometime in the future, I'd be pre-ordering that yesterday. It just,
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be amazing. Derek says, "I hope any halfling squad is ranged with slings or yep, yep, exactly." Uh, Now, and the cool thing with these planets, like this is just you could have lore books on the planets themselves. You really could. And
100%.
yeah, so guys, we are just getting started with when it's just everything. You know, they're taking the hobbits to Valhalla. Exactly, they're taking the hobbits to Valhalla. I don't know if that rhymes. I don't think you'd have a meme with that, but yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, it'd be mind just potentially blown for the possibilities. But I mean, you got vampires, you got just everything here on now. Like when it comes to planet size, like big as Earth, bigger than Earth. What size are we thinking here?
I'll be honest, like I have no idea.
Oh, we don't know about dimensions. Okay.
I have to assume a smaller planet than Earth
Okay.
just because of like how these like Phelan just being steeped in this sort of fantasy world tradition. When you look at a map of like Middle Earth, for instance, it's like the size of Europe.
Yeah.
Like, and Narnia, for instance, is like even smaller. So,
Hmm.
with that in mind, it seems like these fantasy worlds want a situation where a lot of it is mapped, or at least like one main continent is
Hmm.
mapped and easy to get around on. At the same time, though, like you can't have a planet. I guess if you want the like worlds in Star Wars like Kashyyyk
Hmm.
or Endor, then
Yep.
you can have a planet that's full forest. But like I find that a little bit unlikely. So there is mention of like Phelan having seas and possibly similar to Valhalla, like maybe there's places beyond those that haven't really been as established.
Sure.
Um, Middle Earth loves having its like ocean that you sail across with white boats and you basically like go
Hmm.
to heaven. But Yeah, I don't think it's terribly penciled in where Phelan is concerned yet. We've
Right.
never like seen really a map of Phelan's or its regions. We just like have a long list of names of places. Because almost every Phelan bio seems to drop yet another region or place or city or something.
Mm-hmm. And Wayland trees, well, that reminds me of Lorien, right there. I mean, just the picture in itself, that's Lorien. But what's really cool is that the potential for terrain like this, the possibility for terrain like this in the future. And yes, please, again, pre-ordering it yesterday, if that's the case.
Yeah.
I just like, guys, again, $45 is a steal for the information that it's a 200-page book, and it's all this. I'm sorry, I'm being a salesman here. It's a lot. It's so much just in the number of pages. And there's 200 pages of this. Now I like how the Order of the Crimson Seagull. You have mentioning of the Order, which is great. Please, we need all the elves in the Order. We need it. We need it now.
Mm-hmm.
We need it now. It would be cool if we get like a finality of this story and all the characters that played its part. And I believe if it's written like in this kind of detail, eventually we're probably going to get it, which is great. We kind of need the closing of that story for sure. So, and Derek says, "I want the Secrets of Citadel tome, and they have not even confirmed it." Yeah, I mean, I think it's been hinted that's the again. It depends on need that eel and Fu lore expanded. Yeah, heck yeah, you're right, Derek. There's no doubts about that.
Eel is a great thing to mention here because really, Phelan's out of all of Heroscape's worlds, more than any other one, has so much potential for like. Also, that exists on Phelan. There's just such a wide variety of things in the game already that come from Phelan. Everything from Brunak to Gary Oni, to the elf wizards and the wolves and the vampires and all the more like traditional things. Knuckleheavy is from Phelan now, and so like it's a wide open world where the like lore of these, I guess, like where so much could fit into this planet. And Eel just like introducing that goblins are also on Phelan. Like it makes sense, but we haven't heard about them so far up until he comes along.
It's great to have a planet where you just have this mass array of just all kinds of beings and creatures. It really reminds me of our own Middle Earth, and like when you were talking about like expanding universes, and we don't know everything about these planets, but we're starting to get it established. Like if you're going the Warhammer 40k route, Warhammer 40k, like I only dabbled a little bit into the story, but there is so many different cultures, so many different like species, so many different like kingdoms, even within the Imperium itself. You have so many separate factions, different factions, storylines going on. I mean, Warhammer 40k, that's 40,000 years of so much stuff that's happening at some point in time throughout that history. It's so extensive. To even attempt to approach to that level, well, you got your work cut out for you, because there's nothing out there like that. So yeah, we don't. Now the question is, how do you approach it? Because when it comes to Heroscape, everything was centered in Valhalla focused, and I almost feel like, and this is when it comes to like us on social media being, I didn't have the word a few minutes ago, but I have now, the gatekeepers on figuring out, okay, is this the best way to approach things? Because on one side of the coin, I like the fact you keep it Valhalla focused, because there's so much to explore in Valhalla. Like I said, like when it comes to Middle Earth, you have one portion of the map of the entire globe. Valhalla, same thing. You just have a bit part? I mean, is there other continents on the other side? What? How do you explore that? I think even like Iceman was exploring that. We read a scenario from Iceman, wrote it up. I think it was like a year and a half ago that me and Roguescaper read that, and it was very, very interesting about going to a different place in Valhalla that was never explored before. And yes, we're going underground. We're going up in space. But I hope that while I'm not saying that I'm expanding like the fight or the battle of all time to other planets is good or bad, I happen to lean on more maybe you should focus on Valhalla ultimately because that's where it's always been. But who knows if I'm wrong or right about that. But we definitely need to have Valhalla thoroughly explored before we take steps to go any further on any other planets. To leave that mystery just uncovered, basically.
There's a few ducks in a row that would need to happen for like Heroscape's War to bridge out. I mean, we're still waiting on a couple Wellspring amulets. Like Utgar is nowhere to be seen right now. So yeah, but
He's
like
alive.
that is kind of the like threatening potential of Heroscape's battle on Valhalla is like this is a war by proxy, and if it fails, then you get war everywhere else. So yeah, that is kind of the doomsday scenario that a lot of the Valkyrie are striving to fight against.
Right, and it's hinted. It's even hinted in some of the lore videos that Renegade has produced, which I'm just like, okay, I'm picking up what you're laying down. I don't know if I like it, but I'm picking up what you're laying down. Yeah, and then you have Sylvaris, talking about himself as he's wont to do, as he loves to do, and what I mean, it just tells a little bit about him on Phaland, which is fine. What does Thilkian mean as far as like elves is concerned?
You know what? I mean, I think within the that is a question that like puzzled me too.
Okay.
Because we only know in Thormund's journals that when Sylvaris and the Order of the Nine introduce themselves, Sylvaris says, I am a Thilkian elf.
Okay. So he says
And then, like, I guess I was just reading over that again and again, trying to, like, figure out what that means. Like, whether that's a city, whether that's, like, a time period, whether that's, like, I don't know, a faction, a, like, denomination. And I think the kind of conclusion, at least from Sylvaris introducing himself that way and then the Order not introducing themselves that way, was kind of like, this maybe indicate, at least the way it's been interpreted, is that a Thilkian elf is, I guess, from this like this previous era, like from the Seventh Age, part of this like golden civilization where everything was sort of like serene and the elves did their work. And then, the age that comes after, I guess, are not Thilkian elves, but they are, essentially descendants of that clan or that city or that empire, having to deal with more and more pressures as darkness seems to rise on Phaland. And ultimately, as we know for the Order and for Cantilla Gwyn, at least, like, not entirely successful at meeting those pressures as they build.
Sure, a lot of enemies out there, and really, you want everything to blow up in this type of war gaming stuff, because I mean, when all heck breaks loose, that's when you start having fun. I mean, not for those characters, but for us, the audience. We're just like, yeah, bring it on. Okay, well, I guess that's taking a look at Phaland then. There's just so much again, like there could be lore books made of these planets as well. Derek Veg, 2% or skim milk? What? Or skim thilk? 2% or skim thilk? Oh, thank you, Derek. Thank you for the. I needed that laugh. All right. Mar. Wait. Okay, yeah, Mar. The home of... I should look at these drawings. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's Kimoshi. There, yeah. All right. So, this is the most original bit of Heroscape ever created, the Morrow. On the planet Mar. Let us read through this. Okay, Mar, a constantly evolving world. I think that actually, out of everything, I think when you talk about planets being fleshed out or thought of, I mean, there's more work that obviously there's work that needs to be done with everything, but. And Billy Rager, I don't think we'd ever call Savaris milky at all. At least not to his face. I'm just saying. But we already have a good horchata. Oh, Billy, don't get me started. Look, hey, I'm married to a Latina woman, so I know all about that. And that's good stuff. I eat good. I eat really good. Okay. Mar, a constantly evolving world. I should say, like, you have a lot of material when it comes to Mar and Morrow, so that's cool. But I think we've been obviously saying this for like the last couple of years. We need more. You know, we have a lot already from Classic. We need more. You know, you cannot have enough. So I'm glad this world is included. So it says, for a few worlds are as bizarre as the world of Mar. Yes. A perpetually hot and swampy planet which has given rise to several societies of intelligent creatures as well as the invasive and alien Morrow. A world of rich jungles, vast swamplands, and constant humidity. Kind of reminds me of the South, actually, a little bit. I only say that because I used to live like down in Mississippi, so I can say that. It would be difficult for a human or a Kiri to breathe Mars' moist, noxious atmosphere. It is the perfect environment for the waterborne Morrow to spread, and where once fertile wetlands stretched for hundreds of miles, there are now fields of festering hive moths and birthing pods for the ever-growing Morrow infestation. It has not stopped. It has not stopped. How do you say that? I need help with the word. Salations? Salations. Okay. I'm going to forget it, but thank you for telling me for the record. Inhabitants of Mars' noxious seas, the Salations, I'm going to butcher it, have been driven further and further away from the shore as the Morrow take over their coastlines, and some have taken up arms to fight back. Their bite force is strong enough to shatter bone and pierce metal in a single crunch. That's cool. Primadons, yep. Before the rise of the Morrow, the Primadons were the most peaceful and technologically advanced society on Mar, often grafting cybernetic body parts to themselves to enhance their strength while practicing harmony with all things. That was until Primadons began dying in droves to the Morrow onslaught. Even the most unassuming were called upon to set aside their pacifism and fight back against the world of flesh, revealing themselves to be tactical and powerful warriors on the battlefield, swinging from tree to tree, guns blazing into the swamps below. Vipers. The Vipers are no strangers to conflict. Long before the rise of the Morrow, they were enslaved by the bird-like Raptorians. They took up arms against their captors and overthrew them, bringing an end to the Raptorian reign on Mar. Life in the swamps of Mar has inspired constant adaptations and resulted in vast genetic diversity across their species. But the Vipers evolve their warfare even further by using the weapons of their enemies against them, whether the Raptorians' talons or the Morrow warriors' plasma blasters. They're making fun of me in the chat. The Morrow, a strange new life form. That's okay. I can take it. I can take the beatings. It's okay. I can handle it. A strange new life form has risen in Mars swamps, becoming known as the Morrow. So we don't really know where they came from, which is kind of cool. The Morrow are a skinless species whose methods of reproduction aren't really that fun, it seems like, are as varied as their anatomies, ranging from dividing into two to being born in large egg sacs through a Morrow hive. Their rapid evolution, shared hive minds, and ability to bioengineer their own kin to further enhance their adaptiveness to environments or to fight particular enemies makes them a deadly threat. In particular, the Morrow pollute water sources with runoff filth from their hive cleaning operations, and as they multiply across Mar, they have plunged the ecological balance of the entire planet into jeopardy. And who doesn't like to play Jeopardy? I know I do. Warriors. Within a hive, there is a wide variety of freshly spawned Morrow serving as drones, infantry, and frontline defense for the hive's wars. Warriors are expected to hold defensive lines and protect their hive and fight to expand its reach. Leadership. Battalions of warriors are overseen by warlords, war witches, and other Morrow engineered to be as deadly as possible. Morrow leaders like Nigok-Sa or Kimoshi have even mastered an art called the Mind Shackle, which allows them to exert physical control over other life forms and bend them to their will. Hive Lord. Carefully crafted weapons of war, most Hive Lords use their psychic power to control engineered Morrow constructs or even non-Morrow mounts, while some are massive beasts themselves, genetically engineered to replicate the destructive potential of the Morrow's worst enemies. Hive Lords share one thing in common: wherever the hive commands them, devastation will follow. Hive minds. Although the Morrow might be perceived by outsiders as one single-minded force, bending enemy minds to their will and seeking to dominate all life, there are actually several hive clusters at war with each other, within the Morrow ranks, and dozens of hives within each, which roil with their own individual mass goals and interests. Well, this is new. It is a grievous wound to a Morrow to cut them off from their connection to their hive, as in the case of the pirate Bok-Barna when he was summoned to Valhalla, and destroying their hive remains one of the surest ways to scatter a Morrow invasion force. All right, let's tackle this a little bit. Okay, Warpig's asking me, what happens if a Morrow uses wellspring water? That's what happens if anybody uses wellspring water, you know. That's fun scenario. Brainstorming for sure. Retro Gamer says we found Dagobah. Well, if you find a certain Jedi Master there, then yeah, you're probably right. And Derek says greetings and salations to you. The domino effect. Yeah. Okay. So salations. Okay. Let's just get these out of the way for right now. So shark-like people. My son hasn't seen this miniature yet, but my son is into sharks and whales, especially like megalodons. If you come up with a Salation that's like a megalodon type huge hero,
Yes.
I'm never going to hear the end of it. I'm never going to hear the end of it from my son. He's going to want it. I mean, I just submitted on like the Renegade server earlier today because my son just finished painting the crabs, and then he wanted to draw like the crabs because he's a little bit of an artist, and so he did. So I posted it, and it seems like people like it a little bit. But he was inspired for that, and so that's fine. But if there's anything like that for them, oh, he's gone. He's just gonna be like, Dad, I want that now. So, but it's really cool. I don't think was any of the species mentioned in the past when it comes to Mar.
So Primadons definitely have been,
Yes.
since Laglor and the Gorillinators, you know, definitely shine a little bit of a spotlight into them. The Vipers obviously have as well. Salations are new, but it kind of came from like looking at the dreadnoughts of Caraway Cavern and trying to figure out like, okay, throughout Age of Annihilation's content, a lot of new species were introduced. You had the like snake-haired people in the Exiles. You had the shark and the like green lizard folk looking thing in the Dreadnoughts. So there's been a certain amount, lore-wise, of okay, we have these designs. Where do they come from? How do they fit into the universe? And a race of like shark-like animal folk on Mar, which tends to be a world of animal folk, kind of made sense. They're very different though from like the kind of more anthropomorphic, cute animals that you find on Nox Dorma. Like, so there's an interesting question when you have new Heroscape animal-inspired creatures of like, okay, is this a Mar thing or is this a Nox Dorma thing? Ultimately, we felt that the shark folk, like on this hot, swampy, watery world, just seemed like a great fit. They're sufficiently weird that like Hammerhead Dreadnought to like keep up with the Gorillinators and the Vipers. So yeah, they are, I guess, as new as the Dreadnoughts are, but just getting like penciled into their own little corner of Mar.
That's nice. That's so cool. I love it. Derek's asking, what's the green guy from that squad, from planet species wise? Because yeah, you have like Dreadnoughts of Caraway Cavern here, but what's the third one?
That has ended up being a Durgeth.
Okay.
A Valhalla species of lizardy folk, which you learn a little bit more about in Durnipia's bio in the new like Secrets of the Citadel.
So that means there's still some Durgeth around then. Possibly.
There definitely are. They're not.
Nice.
They are definitely scattered, and you know their civilization is gone. But there definitely are a couple dregs here and there, like still alive on Valhalla.
No, I have to say also, like the writing, since we're mentioning Durnipia, that is the best bad guy writing I've seen so far out of all Heroscape. Just like it sets you up. Just set up nice villain scenario for that particular character. Just so good. Oh, yeah. Warpig. Okay, Warpig found a bot in the Twitch chat. Thank you, Warpig, so much for catching that. All right. Yeah. Well, cool. So there you go. There's your answer, Derek. And of course, Primadons. I hope we get to see more Primadons. Because we only had a few from Classic. We definitely need some more. And I mean, even VC expanded on this. The cool thing is you can look, and I think one thing I like what Renegade is doing is, or what appears that they're doing is that they are looking at the community in different ways, and especially when it comes to Valhalla Customs, they're applying some of the things that are learned from Valhalla, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the people who worked on Valhalla Customs are currently working on, I mean, yourself, you worked on NGC. So they're bringing some of the people in that have worked on this stuff to this, so it's gonna like kind of lead into having similar type of units in
I mean, if you look at like the Vanguard edition of content, like it was mostly VC Customs designers that were brought in for that, which is why like a bunch of the Avalon Hill Heroscape designs have some design similarity with VC figures, or sometimes even identical powers to certain VC figures.
For sure. Including like Jean d'Arc. I mean, it's the same. It's so funny.
Boy. Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see that synchronicity roll out, and then also, although no one plays, I wouldn't say no one plays with NGC, but like it was a very small customs project. Yes. It was short lived.
I got stuff in
the revival coming back for real Heroscape kind of like maybe took a lot of the wind out of that project. Sure. But like there's also a Joan of Arc named De La Pucelle over there, so like that's now 3 different Joan of Arcs in Heroscape.
I have Day in my collection because Roguescaper is gracious enough to give me a mini and a card, so yep.
At least because she's not named Jeanne d'Arc, then you can play her with Jeanne of Arc.
Oh, so fun. So fun. Actually, you need to do like, the Spider-Man meme where you got 2 or 3 Spider-Man all pointing at each
Right.
other. You could do that for
Yeah,
those 3, eventually.
1,000%.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Vipers. Well, this is interesting. I think one thing that stands out for me is that Raptorians, like you had Vipers, Raptorians that were bird-like. So if anything's written down in this lore book that we didn't know anything about before, or hinted, or even stuff in the past, then I just automatically assume something's in the process, something's in the design process for these. Because now it's like, because you read about, okay, I want them now. It's like, you can't just show me, you can't just tease us and be like, okay, I'll forget about it now. No, I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that Vipers had different foes, and apparently this is like, looks like a world war of Vipers, Raptorians, and Vipers were the victors, which is Warpix says we need more snakes. Oh yeah, yeah. This is just a taste, for sure. I was even like spouting like, when are we gonna get a flying? I mean, we kind of have like a dragonfly Morrow, but I'm actual flying Morrow, like a flying Morrow squad. It's like, when are Morrow gonna adapt to wings? And I mean, I'm getting kind of ahead of myself, but if there's different Morrow factions, that's hinted here. Whoa. So that means we might get different Morrow and different general, like different generals. Who knows? That, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself. That just blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, this is like, I'm always thinking when it comes to the Morrow over to like other pop culture influences that feed into their design a little bit. Obviously, like the xenomorphs come to mind a lot. And something that I really love is that in the like Alien comics, there are different xenomorph like hives or queens. And there's like the normal black kind, but then there's also like a crimson red like xenomorph hive. So I'm always a fan of like, I like for the Morrow that they're, despite that they are technically all one species, they all have that same ultimate goal of like consume all life and make it all Morrow. That they have different positionings and different like leverages against each other. And we see that like in old Heroscape with characters like Meeburk Saw having been reduced to a 50-point hero because he challenged Negok Saw once in a fight. And like was kind of crippled after that. So Morrow having rivalry is definitely nothing new for Heroscape, but I like just taking a little bit more of a look at that and penciling in, just some more exposure behind it.
Yeah, and I like how even like in like past Heroscape lore, like say when it comes to like Kimoshi, and I kind of play this a little bit in Tales of Valhalla as well. Kimoshi doesn't need Ukar. She's quite capable of taking over things herself, as well as I assume that's probably for most Morrow. So I mean, they were brought there under Ukar's banner, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna play along. They have their own motivations, their own directives. So I can see that. Say if Revna brings in like Revna Morrow or others, it's going to be interesting to see how the dynamics play for Morrow. Because bring it on. I just bring more Morrow. And Derek is saying, William, you should read up on the Neo-Sapiens from Exo Squad. Perhaps some Morrow sect ideas to adapt there. Zombie Morrow. Maybe adapt to the undead. An undead Morrow, that would be insane. That would be insane. But I like most of this artwork. It's interesting that dividers aren't in here, because I think dividers are one of the most sought after Maro that you need a small fortune in order to get like original
Oh
dividers.
boy. Yeah.
If
Like
if
an $80, $90 squad right now.
that's cheap.
Oh,
I think I've seen them for more.
yikes.
So it'd be really cool, like for some of the classics. Dividers are fun. It'd be great if we get another variation of them in some way back, just because they look so cool. And same for the Maro teleporter, Tulbak Ra.
Yep.
They come from, I believe it's both of them. They come from actually a different time period than the other Maro come from. So they've already attached sci-fi elements to themselves, which I find very interesting. So I hope that's kind of expanded on, since we've kind of done the same thing with the Gruts. It'd be cool to see. I mean, I want original Maro, don't get me wrong. I want Maro from just all kinds of timelines, just so many variations. Like, have fun with it. Just bring them out sometime. I suppose everybody's waiting for a Nigaksa 2.0. I'm definitely wanting. I think when Renegade first sent suggestions, what 2.0 would you like to see? I think I put Kimoshi because I'm we're in desperate need. Now apparently she's dead, but she could be just mostly dead. And there's a big difference between being mostly dead and all dead, and I've been proven that with Utgar. So
I don't know if she's dead, actually. We're talking about a person that has died like 3 or 4 times canonically.
Exactly.
And her method so far has always just been that she keeps a copy of her consciousness in one of these jade amulets and then has someone she's mind shackled bring it to a hive, and then it just whips her up a new body. I think when we last see her in the current canon, she's just stuck with somebody else's, basically kind of gets a reverse treatment of somebody else using one of these amulets on her. But she's just kind of there on the ground, I think, by the time that Sonlin and Shiori catch up and see what Raylan and Leviatak must have done when they confronted her. And I don't think we know after that. So I definitely would not. I would love to see more Kimoshi because she's just such a cool looking villain, and I love her sort of manipulative tactics and her shady mania. The story of how she came to be in Heroscape is great too. So yeah, I would be all on board with a Kimoshi 2.0. Absolutely. I know a lot of people were expecting one when Kariga was unveiled, but that's a much bigger creature.
Yeah, that's okay. And I really okay, if you're going to make a Kimoshi, for the love of God, make her bond with somebody, please. Just don't make her useless, please, because that would be the worst thing you can do. But Derek's saying okay, we got some dead but not really dead. Retro Gamer's saying, where's the body? No body, not canon. Yeah, well, even if there is a body, that still, again, the difference between mostly dead and all dead, because that's case in point, Utgar. So Kimoshi has died 4 times, says Derek. Valkyrie can come back. Well, Valkyrie is what I would say is all dead. When you're skinned alive, and someone's wearing your wings as a trophy, that's a pretty strong indicator. But I'll say this. I'll say this with a caveat, okay? Story-wise, Valkyrie was killed by a reanimator of the dead. So, okay, just bear with me, everybody. Valkyrie, undead, servant of Revna, wings stripped off, and just is a horrific, grotesque image of what Valkyrie used to be. And we just rename it so we're not upsetting any wizards at all, and any darn wizards that could be out there. Just saying. So maybe that possibility. But beyond that, yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'd love to see like a Valkyrie story arc, to where Valkyrie just rises above all of it and comes back mightier and more powerful. Because Valkyrie was, even though we had only a few squads worth, it was pretty darn ruthless. And I'd love to see some of that ruthlessness in the future when it comes to the story.
Yep.
But where to go from this position where we're at, I don't know. It takes some work. It definitely takes some work. So yeah. Anyway, I know we could be here all night with Morrow, and this Mar looks like a lot of fun. I'm glad it's, again, stuff we already knew, but it's being expanded upon. That's great. Just keep it coming. Keep it coming. Okay, and we already covered Gret with Jeremy, so we're going to skip over Gret. Walking cities, though. It's like, William, is there anything you want to say about Gret before we pass it by, though? I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah,
worth
Gret.
mentioning.
I mean, Gret was an interesting mystery because, like, maybe out of all Heroscape planets, we knew the littlest about it. Like, even for Icaria, which also did not have very much, but like we at least knew there was a northern continent. Whereas with Gret, we just had so little information. There was like, there must be cold somewhere because Nirak rides a Galatian Swag Rider, and Grimnak was exiled, and Nirak returned from somewhere, and that's about it. We know it's a world that has dinosaurs, and that's it. So from there, it was a fun process to work backwards and just try to answer, like, okay, what could be the world that creates this? And it needed to be sufficiently unique. Like, it's important for every Heroscape world to really have their own flavor, and to just say, like, oh, a richly jungled, tropical world. And it's like, well, now you're kind of back on Mar. So it definitely needed to stand by itself. It definitely needed to be as brutal as the orcs and dinosaurs and everything that comes from it. A world of harsh extremes. And I was thinking back to the plot of an old Lost in Space episode, which is like a originally black and white sci-fi sort of schlock show. It's a delight to watch, but there's this plot line in there about like a planet that has this elliptical orbit that causes it to both heat up at times and then get super, super cold at other times. And it was a fun like kernel to keep in mind in fleshing out Gret, to be like, okay, maybe this is how the world works. Maybe this is the kind of what creates this like horrible extreme environment where life is always on the verge of extinction. And everything that stays has to be stronger than everything else in order to survive.
Sure.
And also, just with the walking cities, like trying to picture when you suddenly introduce that planet has a steampunk future, then you need something to kind of get from point A to point B.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, maybe the reason that these very like tough creatures are trying to innovate this quickly is like, if they don't, they basically will die. And so, this is sort of the next evolution to help keep them is secure and intact and, keep their clans safe. So yeah, I love dinosaurs. It was a blast to like ask for some new like art
These
for
are
orcs.
awesome.
The Brachiosaurus here is delightful.
The potential, just the potential. And I think that's one thing a lot of the Heroscape community has been looking for is like, just official new dinosaur Gret units, and the potential is there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Listen, I love Ramosaur as much as anyone else does, but I need much bigger dinosaurs.
No doubt. Yeah. That's just a small taste. It's sampling. And then, okay, before we get to Alpha Prime, so cool, yeah. No, it's quite fun, and when me and Jeremy were going through it, it was quite a fun. So that's a nice little addition to that. And Retro Gamer says, I said it once, I'll say it again. The Denzians of Gret would look at Australia and say, "Oh, that's cute." Okay. All right, Alpha Prime. Now this is part of Heroscape lore that again we've gone over. There's some very strong Alpha Prime stuff we know via Classic.
Yeah.
So again, this is something I haven't read this, so I'm gonna read through this and then we'll talk about it. Okay, Alpha Prime, a world of living metal. Long ago, the world of Alpha Prime was called Meridian. In those days, some of the greatest technological advancements came in the galaxy ended. Some of the greatest technological achievements in the galaxy ended crime, hunger, and war. Complex machines called Robota performed the arduous tasks, enabling Meridians to enjoy life. However, everything changed when a Meridian scientist placed the soul of his daughter, oh boy, killed in a fatal accident, into the mechanical shell of a Robota, creating the first Soulborg. Origins, people, origins, cool. After this, companies were quick to try and replicate this process to offer it to all of Meridian. While some, like the Omnicron Corporation, saw this evolution as the logical next step in Meridian's future, the rival Zeti Combines saw the possibility for creating military might like Meridian had never seen, and used this technology to seize power. Thus, a civil war began, which has raged for a millennia. Today, few Meridians remain on Alpha Prime, and those who do are a desperate resistance, working from underground bases to launch attacks against the Zeti Combine's brutal legions. Yet the Zetian hordes seem to be nearly endless. Yes. Isidora, yep. A neighboring planet called Isidora has been colonized by the Zeti Combine and is used to house any remaining organic Meridians that are discovered on Alpha Prime in an effort by the Zeti Combine to rid the planet of them entirely. On Isidora, they are put to work in labor camps overseen by cruel mechanical wardens. Yes. So basically a prison planet. Soul cores. Interesting. In the heart of every Soulborg is a soul core, a powerful vessel that contains the soul of the Meridian within. However, as the Zeti Combine discovered, the soul core can also introduce erratic behaviors such as kindness, which the Combine believes must be eradicated through careful programming overrides. I gotta wonder then who Major Q10 was as a Meridian. You know, we don't go that far back in his story. The Great Forges. I want to see a terrain of the Great Forge someday. Perhaps the cruelest of all Zeti Combine's operations are the Great Forges. Thousands of years into the war, these Soulborg producing factories are still working overtime. Zeti Combine soldiers that are determined to have programming faults such as mercy or friendship are tested in fighting pits to purge themselves of these faults through trial by combat. If they do not, they are fed into the smelting facilities to have their bodies melted down and their soul cores reprogrammed. Their bodies are upgraded with yet more deadly weaponry each time, creating a series of Soulborgs born from the shattered memories of the ones that came before. Okay, that makes sense. Laid to waste. The war between the Omnicron Corporation, fighting for the rights of Meridians, the Meridian Resistance themselves, and the devastating legions of Zeti Combine have turned Alpha Prime into a world of barren wastelands, ruined factories, and twisted metal landscapes. And okay, from Zetacron, talking about Zetacron, we use Zetacron 2.0, just saying. I choose to become a Soulborg willingly at a time when it seemed that this was an exciting new technological revolution for those who lived on Meridian. We had no idea yet of the terror that would ensue in the upcoming 3,472 stellar cycles, at which point I was summoned by the Valkyrie Jandar. Although I had submitted myself willingly to undergo the process with the Omnicron Corporation, the rumors that the Zeti Combine was capturing Meridians and forcing them to become Soulborgs against their will quickly proved to be a frightening reality. Worst of all, they suppressed all emotion and free will in those they transformed into Soulborgs. Although I was by then a Soulborg myself, I and my collaborators at Omnicron fought to give the remaining Meridians the right to choose their fate. I do not remember much of my life before becoming a Soulborg, although I believe I must have enjoyed invention, and as I continue to tinker with technology ever since. I feel emotions rarely, but I believe I can identify enjoyment and satisfaction when a new cybernetic grappling arm or jetpack is a success. From Zedcron. Derek's saying, oh yeah, okay. Zeddy Combine T9000 Systems Model 202. Derek says, the silhouette is a Zeddy unit we have never seen. William, spill the beans or make it official. Need it. Okay, the silhouette. Oh, this one. Yeah, that type of unit I don't think we have seen, because that looks a lot like a major with two different types of gun arms. But yeah, I don't think there's any beans going to be spilled tonight, Derek. Sorry. You have to wait for Christmas just like everybody else.
Hey, though, we do have, not the one pictured, but we do have a Deathwalker 10,000,
Yes,
supposedly in the works coming soon,
Yep.
as previewed at Adepticon. So the Zeddy Combine enjoyers definitely are eating good lately.
Oh yeah. Although I'd say we do need some Deathwalker squads. Just saying, like we have with VC. We need some squads. So they're better than VC, because VC is just like a knockoff from Battle Droids. We need to have Deathwalker common squads that have their own uniqueness. So Morpig saying, I honestly don't know this one. Alpha Prime is really there's a lot already in Heroscape, classic Heroscape lore about Alpha Prime. So this is well known, although it's still, like everything else, it definitely needs to be fleshed out. But I think it's a good. Now it's a bit singular. You don't have too many species or variations on. You just technically have 3, but it's enough, because with these you have so many variety. If you're coming up with machines or meridians or Omnicron Corporation. So that in itself is very, very interesting. But yeah, and I'm so happy that this, because this picture has been around. I'm so glad it was inserted, because this is the Great Forge, as mentioned before in the lore. So that's really cool.
Yeah, this takes from essentially there was a description of the Great Forge of Tirada in the Heroscape mini movie sort of unused webisode script.
Yes.
Where they were going to show big portions of Major Q10's backstory, and then just all of that was kind of cut from the final result. But I was definitely going over that description when sketching this up.
When you're talking about that last script, it's this script right here. Just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm just showing on the camera.
There's some things from that script that I definitely take with a grain of salt. There's some very weird things in that script too, but there were certain things, and especially big portions of Major Q10's backstory, that I really wanted to take and then slide into the canon proper, because it provides so much depth and backstory for his character, and it explains a lot that I think still lines up very well with the canon that we have, and even explains a bunch of plot holes, or not plot holes, but unexplained connections. And now, it's been fun to kind of be able to pencil in a couple of things and say, okay, yes, this is where the Vidar Soulborgs fall. This is what the Omnicron Corporation was doing. This is what their war was about. This is why Major X-17 is a gladiator in a fighting pit.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth, and kind of unify it all together, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it still needs a little bit more work, but it's definitely a good start on where these go. And darn it, we need some meridians. You know, I've been talking about them for so long.
Absolutely.
We definitely. And more pigs saying we need a Volorek Deathwalker. Whoa. Okay. Well, that's combining a lot of things there. Hey, maybe a Volorek taking control of a Deathwalker. They I think that they have the technology, so to speak. If anybody can do it, for a woodland creatures can. Uh, so yeah, I guess that's all to say. I mean, again, uh, fun units in the game. Hopefully, get more. I mean, we're gonna get a Deathwalker who's over 9,000 now, and so those memes are gonna going to be going out like crazy. Of course, yeah, and I hope we get to know more about Isadora as well. I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
something that hasn't been mentioned too much. So, uh, like more information on that in the future. And again, Renegade, like we're going through these planets. Listen to this. Rulebooks. Okay, rulebooks on like Age of Annihilation. Great. Possibility, Secrets of the Citadel. But also lore books on the planet. Once we get things fleshed out, I would like to have actually a Valhalla first. Like just the Valhalla lore book, but the entirety. So there's more work that needs to be done with that. Look,
Hmm.
I mean, William, I don't know about you, but it seems like you're probably a Lord of the Rings aficionado like me. Like you've watched the extended versions like so many times beyond count, as well as the behind the scenes, as well as like for me, I read Lord of the Rings like bi-yearly. Uh, usually, like I'm into reading that type of lore. So I love reading, and that's not the only like extensive like fantasy science fiction lore books that I read, but I'm into the depthness of a culture or many cultures in a
Yeah.
world. I want to know, and I know this isn't everybody, but I want to know what a certain like Kiri Child has eaten for breakfast on the morning of like 12 years ago in the canon. I'm that uh, engaged and extensive into a lore book. Like we've even discussed, Heroscape cookbook. So the possibilities are endless for this. But do you think we'd ever like get into something like that in depth?
I wouldn't say no. Obviously,
Mm.
it becomes a question of like how much how much depth can we squeeze in and where can it go?
Mm.
Um, but the lore this lore book has been a success. So I really hope that Renegade continues to make more
Mm.
and also to just keep investing in growing the lore and
Yeah.
taking it from the place of being almost what a lot of people perceive as like a very like write-off cartoon explanation
Hmm.
of a lore, and then begin to kind of take itself seriously and
Yeah.
take all of these without retconning anything or like changing anything that's happened, but to say like, okay, if we take all that seriously, like where does that put us for the future? um, and yeah, I think if Renegade gets to continue like developing that, I hope we'll get sort of a better and better look at these worlds as time goes on. Because even in 50 pages here in the lore book, like there's so much to
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
And its role especially is really just to show off what these worlds and what these names mean to, someone who's never touched Heroscape before. So now that that exists, like it can only kind of go more deeper and more detailed from here.
There is so much potential for this. Now, I don't think it's ever going to be like Warhammer 40K. It's its own IP. It's really really dark. I don't think Heroscape needs to be that dark. I think there's
Mhm.
the potential for darkness in it, um, but you don't necessarily need that. But engaging story, definitely so. Like depth of world building, engaging story, uh, multiple many character arcs to relate to anything that you might be want to relate to, as well as a game that's just darn fun to play. um,
Absolutely.
so you have all the makings there. So yeah. we'll see. But anyway, when it comes to Alpha Prime, yeah, we'll see what else gets uncovered with these. Definitely looking forward to the. I've already asked my audience. Again, it's like when I get my hands on a Warhammer 10K, what do you want me to see it blow up? And there's already like debate and suggestions on what do you think, William? What should a Deathwalker 10K blow up? Animate that.
What? Oh, you mean what should it blow up if you're going to animate it?
Yeah, if I'm going to animate it. Yeah, for sure. It's got the big gun in its chest. So what do you think?
I think you'll have more ideas when you see what it does.
Okay. That's an answer all to itself. Ooh. All right, that's an answer. Okay. You heard it here first, people. You heard it here first. Okay, Icaria. All right, let's dive into the planet of dragons.
And Jeremy's favorite planet, for the record.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I know Jeremy's talked about this a bit. And Retro Gamer saying the thing Heroscape has over 40k is that it can pull in different depths and arcs naturally and doesn't need to shoehorn it into any story, rather adds to it. Exactly. That is the potential, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, so Icaria, a world where dragons reign. For many on Valhalla, one cannot think of Icaria without thinking of its dragons. Icaria is a world with vast stretches of warm ocean, thin trees, and white sand beaches rising onto volcanic islands. Within Icaria's curling mountains and smoking volcanoes dwell thousands of mighty dragons, in a vast array of shapes and colors. Many dragons demand tribute from smaller species, such as the short-statured Icarians, promising that as long as the gifts continue to flow, they will protect their chosen few from the maws, even hungrier and more dangerous dragons. So there's different kinds of dragons. Some dragons, such as the former king of northern continent, Nilfheim, were loved by their subjects for their bravery and dedication for keeping their vassals safe. Others, like the copper-scaled dragon Mimring, have been so reviled for their devouring and destructive tendencies that they are recognized only as beasts rather than royalty. As the centuries passed, the dragons formed ever more complicated systems of government to educate their precarious balance of their lineages and empires, and yet, when the formalities are exhausted, many of their conflicts end in locking claws, wings, and jaws, and world-shaking displays of powerful breath weapons. And that's a nice little bit of artwork there. Oh, even better right here. Oh my goodness. In the company of dragons, Icarians spend their lifetimes worried about the actions of dragons, as the favor of their protector turning sour, or the rise of a new, even bigger carnivore can mean life or death for their clans. Thus, it is wise to treat all dragons, even their obnoxious young offspring, with respect. We got Scions of Icaria. The complicated politics of dragons are officiated by the dragons that sit on the 12 thrones of Annex Draco Ikimini. I'm sure I butchered that, which represents Icaria's continents and islands. Behind every great dragon ruler are a dozen competing worms, or even worse, their own vicious offspring, waiting to claim their throne and their ability to command the rest of Icaria. Then we have Icarian giants. Although many on Icaria live under the whim of their dragon overlords, not all have been so willing to bend the knee. Icaria's giants are a hardy folk, vastly bigger than their small cousins, the Icarians, and they are accustomed to killing giant beasts for survival in Icaria's treacherous mountains. And they construct bows big enough to take a worm out of the sky from over a mile away. More than just dragons, Aquila was initially skeptical about summoning what appeared to be the dragon's flavored delicacy, Icaria's lava-blooded Draco crustaceans, or Dracostaceans. However, these obstinate trash-grabbing beach dwellers become the ideal guardians for her border along the Valkyrian lava fields on Valhalla, proving that Icaria has more to offer than only its fire-breathing lizards. Okay. So, well, I say there's a lot of potential for Icaria, and I know Jeremy's having fun, building up the lore for this, especially when it comes to the lava crabs, which for me personally, I think lava crabs is mostly just all whimsy, and I'm here for it. It's a lot of fun, and again, I gotta get more of these guys eventually because I still gotta animate lava crabs just turning into lava, bursting forth and like turning into lava. Just can't wait to animate something like that in the future. And you got the Scions, Icarian giants. The potential for having more dragons, if you're talking about society, and actually, it reminds me like the whole like royal line reminds me a lot of like European royalty, back hundreds of years in the past. Like intermingling, trying to keep bloodlines probably failing terribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely some like I can't wait to be king energy where the Scions are concerned, and yeah, it was interesting just trying to take like Icaria just has almost nothing written. Zelrig's bio is there, and that tells us that Icarians are people, that they have pillow lizards, and that they have this relationship with some dragons, where they are essentially both protectors, but also like very, very feared, like what would happen if they weren't pleased and what they might decide to do. So definitely not quite a like heroic relationship in most cases. So it's an interesting world where like dragons definitely have the top tier in society, and yet there are these other species like the giants or normal Icarians, or I'm not sure I would even include the crabs since they're closer to wildlife than like a people on that planet. But
bring more wildlife.
Yeah, but like it's interesting where the dragons are obviously what the planet is famous for, but there are these other species that live under the dragon's thumb, and it's just kind of a question of how they're going to do it, whether it's like trying to appease the dragons like the Icarians, or taking up gigantic bugs but giants.
Did you finish that, William? Or
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yep.
Okay. I think you kind of cut there for a second, so I was making sure you were still on. So yeah, it's the mindset of this planet too. Like, and I was thinking of the movie. Is it called Reign of Fire? I think, to where you have just dragons like kind of get discovered on Earth, and then you have it's just taking over. Is it called Rain and Fire? I'm pretty sure. Matthew McConaughey, I think, was in it. He was bald and he was with a beard. He was a crazy dude.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean that movie not mentioned very much, but it just basically shows if dragons were existing on Earth, how everything just shuts down because you're afraid what's going to happen next. And this is like that times 10,000 here. You got the people just like you have a potential like creature that can eat you at any point. Like, yeah, how do you keep on functioning? You have to depend on one that has like a little bit a sense of protectiveness for its people, really. Billy Rager, killer movie. It is a good one. Very underrated film.
Nice.
But yeah, I would say bring more dragons. And it's like it's not. We already have one, Aquila, brought forth. We need more. If we get a 2.0, that's fine. We can get 2.0s of classic dragons. I don't mind that. But if there's like so much of a mixture of different dragons, I like to see some new ideas for dragons as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like to see that. But again, I don't have anything much else to say with this. It's just, it's again, like you were saying, it's kind of like a blank sheet. Not much was known
Yep.
with classic lore, so it's just something that still has to be built on. And yeah, we go from there. So that's taking a look at Icaria then. Bring on the dragons. Okay, and I just want to check real quick. Billy Rager saying, "Great song too," by the Mighty Armored Saint, Rain of Fire. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna see how many planets we have left because we are 2 hours over in this, and I don't want to go on too long. To see, we got 3. Okay, it looks like 3 planets. I think I am gonna actually stop here tonight.
Sounds good.
Yeah, just because we're reaching 11. I need sleep, and guys, I did tell you in the past this is probably going to be like a 3 to 4 parter, just because there's so much to cover, so much to talk about, and we've barely scratched the surface. Anything else, William, you'd like to just mention before closing tonight? Because I don't know if you'll come back on for like another time, if it can be arranged. But if not, anything else you'd like to say, particularly for this for this bit?
Yeah, I'll say one last Easter egg for Icaria is like in the company of dragons. There's this art of 2 dragons that we haven't seen like wrestling. But like there was always this question whether Aquila's dragon should be blue based on the D&D blue wormling, which ostensibly would be a dragon from Eberron or Toril, you know, being blue.
Yeah.
But it was fun to include one in the art here. And then similarly, like there's been so many requests of like why wouldn't Einar get a more kind of like, I guess, dragon like based out of Asian mythology compared to like Zelrig, who's like a very classic European style dragon. So fun to include here as well, just to showcase like there's still a lot of untapped variety, I think, when it comes to what Icaria's dragons could look like. But yeah, I think you'll definitely be in for a fun time when it comes to these last 3 planets, because there's some juicy stuff in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute blast.
Oh yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on, William. Hopefully we can get you some of the time in the future. It was really good for you to come on, guys, for the first time again. Be welcoming to William Dandelions, because this might be the only time we ever have him. So you know we got to be nice. We got to be nice. No, but anything you want to plug, William, before we go tonight?
I would just say, I mean, thanks to everyone who's watching this, because you clearly care about Heroscape lore, and you know you're who we made this book for. So thanks for having an interest in Heroscape and the story. It's been awesome to work on developing it further and just keep taking it to new places.
Absolutely. No, thank you for being on with us tonight. And of course, I'm Ryan, aka Tales of Valhalla, and currently I have a sub drive. So if you're just coming on here for the first time, sub drive, I'm trying to get to 1K subscribers. So I've got such a great community here on Tales of Valhalla YouTube channel that I already have enough watch time for monetization on YouTube. So all I need is a sub. I mean, you can watch if you want. That just adds on to it. But sub, and if you sub, comment you sub. There's going to be a drawing for certain tiered prizes, some of which can possibly be Renegade stuff that we're talking about tonight. That possibility. So sub away, and we'll see. And Warpig's graciously leaving links to that said video if you want more information on that and what to do. Subdrive detail, exactly, and of course, links in the description below for Warpig's channel, as well as subdrive information, as well as a link if you want to go to Renegade and purchase something, and then I get a little kickback for that if you decide to do so. So that helps support the channel as well, and appreciate it. But this Wednesday, what do we do this Wednesday, guys? I'm going to be going toe to toe, preparing for ScapeCon. Going to go online Heroscape with another guest with me tonight, and we're gonna be looking at a different event that because ScapeCon has a variety. And we're going to start skirmishing, practicing for that this Wednesday.
Nice.
So looking forward to that. And then this coming, I believe it's this Sunday, or next Sunday, we're going to have a TOV podcast again. And what are we going to do? We're going to finish reading the Thorman's journals from Classic Scape. We've been on this for a couple of years, reading through these journals. And now we're coming to the end. I believe it's next Sunday. I'm going to check that. Yes. It should be, yeah. So that will be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that. And until next time, you have a purpose in your life. Find it, pursue it, live it. And we'll see all of you this Wednesday. Thanks for showing up.
Kudos, everybody.
Leave a like on the replay, and see all of you later. Night, bye-bye.